All right guys, today we've got a Toyota in here. We got a brake job we're going to do on it. We thought we'd use the opportunity to show you how we do a brake job. So let's get into it. All right, so we're going to have Clayton come over. Clayton's going to take these apart. We're going to show you how we clean them. We're very particular about the way we do brakes. It doesn't really take that much longer. It takes a couple more minutes, but we very, very rarely have brake comebacks. We don't have vibrations and we don't have noise complaints. We do use quality products, which is a part of it, but we're going to kind of go over some pitfalls. If you don't do it like this, I'm just going to show you some different things that would happen if you don't do certain things. And I know there's quicker ways of doing it, but there's not a better way to do it. So we're going to have Clayton come over and start on it, and then we'll time lapse some of it, and then we'll slow down some of it and show you some different steps. So let's go ahead and get Clayton over and we'll get going. Here's Clayton. Clayton is going to go ahead and start taking her apart. All right, Clayton, he's got the hook. Definitely never hang the caliper. A lot of people want to take this caliper and they want to hook it right there. That's a good way for that caliper to fall. So a lot of people will take this caliper and rather than doing this, they're going to take and do that. And that thing, you can go to the other side, something turn, this thing falls, and it falls, and then that hose has been compromised at that point. So you don't want to do that. Just make sure you're taking it and hanging it so that the hose is not stretched at all or yanked at all. Sorry, Clayton, go ahead. All right, so the first thing y'all saw was Clayton used the little holes here that are threaded to just run a bolt in to pop this off. Some of them don't have that. You know, it's okay if you got to shock it, you know, just hit it with a hammer. If you're not going to reuse this, you could shock it, hit it with a hammer. It's okay. Don't kill it with a 10-pound sledgehammer or something like that. You can put some spray on here. I know those of you that live up north probably live off that spray. Show me something. Let me show you. This right here is some of the best penetrating lubricant you can get. It's not cheap, but it is the best. It's way better than anything else. WD-40 or what's the other one that everybody loves? PB Blaster. I mean, PB Blaster is pretty decent, but this stuff is next level. So if you live somewhere where it's rusty, you probably already know about it. If not, get some. So we got this off. Now, here's the first step that a lot of people don't do. This needs to be cleaned. This hub, this flange needs to be cleaned, and it needs to be cleaned really, really good. I was given a class up in Connecticut, and we just happened it was a hands-on class. We just had a vehicle there we were going to be able to do a brake job on. We pulled it all apart. We cleaned this thing up, and I thought actually it looked pretty decent. We put the new rotor back on it, and we went ahead and checked run out on it. Not something that we normally do. I just wanted to show the class how to check run out. We checked it after the new one was on, and it was 9 thousandths run out, which is a massive amount. And the very first words out of everybody's mouth as they were standing around, including some techs that were standing behind us, was, "Oh, that junk rotor." I'm not going to name the brand. So I said, well, before we condemn the rotor, let's take it back off. Let's be sure. So we took it back off, and we checked the hub, and the hub was true. But I felt my fingers on it, and there were some spots. So we took a screwdriver, and we scraped it, and we took a wire brush, and we brushed it. We got it perfectly clean. And then we put that rotor back on and checked it. It was zero. So it wasn't the rotor. It was the fact that we didn't have it clean. And in about 3,000 to 5,000 miles, that vehicle would have been back vibrating, and it would have had another rotor put on it, and that would have kept happening. So the very first thing what you're going to do when you get the rotor off is we're going to get this hub perfectly clean. So Clayton's going to come in here. He's going to show you a couple things that we use to get them clean. If you've got a European vehicle that uses lug bolts, we've got a large tool that goes around it and spins and cleans it. You can use a roll-lock disc. There's lots of different things you can use, but Clayton's going to show you what he likes. So. And for us down here, this one is pretty dirty, pretty corroded, rusty. We don't see a lot of this. We get some, but this one's a little more than what we normally get. Then we get some that are pretty bad, but on an everyday deal, this one would probably be something that I would think a lot of places in the country would go, oh, that one's actually not that bad. Just make sure however bad it is, it needs to be really, really good when you get done. Let's show everybody what this is. So this is just basically, you can get these anywhere, get them online. I think you can get them on Amazon. You can get them from the parts stores. This is going to go over the stud, and this is a pretty aggressive cleaner right here, and it's going to clean all around those studs. Because you can see right now where he got here is decent. I think we still need a little more here, but getting in here is very difficult. So this is what this is going to do. So right here we can see we still got a little bit of a high spot right here. We still got some corrosion and stuff in here. This is definitely, I can feel this with my hand. This is going to be a problem. So Clayton's going to take that same thing, going to go in between them. This one's a much more aggressive abrasive. So sometimes you got to take a little wire brush in these little areas right here. That's it. That's good. So yeah, I know that was you know, it took a few minutes to do that. A lot of people are like, oh man, what a waste. But it's not a waste. I mean, because now when we put that rotor on, that rotor is going to sit flush, and we're not going to have any run out in it, so we're not going to have vibrations down the road. Okay, so those few minutes right there will save you from taking this whole brake job back apart under warranty later. So go ahead and take the time to do that. So we got that done now. Clayton's going to take a little bit of brake clean on a rag, or brake clean, shoot it off there and catch it on the rag. And then she's good to go. All right, now we're going to go to the next step. So the next step is going to be to clean the cradle. So I'm pretty sure we got the new parts. Let's go grab the new parts. I'm pretty sure we're going to have new anti-rattle clips in this. So one thing you got to be sure of is, I know a lot of you already know this, but the slides need to be cleaned. Now I can tell you right now, that slide, I'm putting a little pressure on that. That slide is sticking. No doubt about it. That slide is definitely sticking a little bit. All right, let's see this one. Yeah, that's sticking a little bit. I'm putting a little pressure on that. Now let me show you something. If you get in here and you're aggressive, you won't know. Let's say you've got some unusual pad wear. So looks pretty even. We might be a little thinner on this side and a little thinner over there, but overall pretty even. But if you're aggressive with this and you don't know, and you got some uneven wear, and you're like, well, is it the slide, or is it you know, an anti-rattle clip binding up? You know, and you go in here and you get real aggressive with this and you turn it and you start pulling it, you could actually pop it loose, and then it could be easy to move after that. So like right now, now it's easy. Now that's not good, because that grease is still breaking down in there, and it's gonna bind up again really soon. But a lot of times it's not quite this hard, and if you get in there and you're pulling around on that caliper, you'll break these loose, and then you've lost your diagnostic ability to inspect it and go, well, what was causing that to bind up? Am I looking for something else, or was it just a slide? In this case, these slides were definitely bound up. So we want to go ahead and get those taken apart, but first, before we take them apart, we're going to show you how we clean the cradle. So let you go ahead and pop the pads out of there. We got new...
Don't have new parts. They're in Kingle.
Oh, okay. All right, so they're headed over there, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay.
They went to go grab them.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and head over to the... Well, go ahead and take the...
What I like to do is I like to put the bolts in here, so I can...
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if you want to show that. But...
So Clayton said he likes to put the bolts in, so he cleans the bolts too. All right, we're going to leave the slides in because we don't want anything. We're going to show you why we're going to leave the slides in for right now. He's going to pull the pads out. He's going to pull the anti-rattle clips out.
does come with new hardware.
Yeah. Yeah, I think every pad that we ever buy comes with new hardware. Most of the pads you buy today comes with new hardware. Obviously, if it doesn't, you want to be a little more gentle than Clayton's being right now. You might have to reuse that, but they need to be clean. All right.
Do you want to show the before?
Yeah. So we are overly concerned about right here. I know if you can't get a visual for this right here. This is extremely rough right here. There's a lot of rust right here, and it's built up, and it's going to push out. If we don't clean this perfectly, when we put the new anti-rattle clip, it's going to push that anti-rattle clip out, and it's not going to allow that pad to move freely. You got to remember that these pads have got to move freely in here so that they can release off the rotor. Otherwise they're going to bind up on the rotor and going to wear out prematurely. So I know I've seen a lot of people, when they go to put pads back in, they won't fit in there. They'll take a hammer and tap the pad in. I mean, it should not take that much to put the pad in. They should be able to go in by hand. You don't want them flopping around because then they're going to make noise. But you know, there's a fine line there. But the first step is going to be to get this perfectly clean. So we're going to show you how we do it. Now listen, I know that most of you are going to be like, well, you don't have that ability to do what we're about to show you. But you can definitely get this clean. You can get a wire brush. You can sit here and scrub this thing down, and you can get it in the corners and the edges up in here. You've got to get in these edges. You got a little pocket screwdriver I can show here? You've got to be sure that in these edges right here that you're going to get that clean, because that's where a lot of that stuff will sit and push it off of there, right? So everywhere inside of here where that anti-rattle clip is going to sit needs to be clean. We'll show you how we do it. We're just going to take the unit, put it in the bead blaster. We're going to try to get this. It's going to be difficult to see through here, but we'll try to see what it looks like here. So Clayton's going to actually clean this whole thing off, not just where the anti-rattle clips sit. We're going to clean this thing like it was brand new. We had this video. We kind of didn't go this in depth with it on TikTok, and boy, a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're taking off a protective coating or something." I don't know what they were even saying. I will tell you that I think we've been doing this now for 15, maybe more than that, 15 years or more, and never had one had a problem. You know, they've been on it for years. They've gone up north. They've come back. And we've never had a problem with one like rusting really bad or some crazy thing like these people were saying. So I will tell you that from our experience, we have good luck doing it like this with no adverse effects on the actual metal as far as some kind of protective coating or paint or something like that. If it's a painted unit, then obviously if you're working on some car that's got a painted cradle, then obviously you don't want to do this, or you want to tape it off or just clean where the anti-rattle clip goes. I get that. But 99% of the cars you're going to work on normal every day, we're going to be able to do this and have no problem. And again, if you don't have a bead blaster, you can do it with a wire brush. That's how we did it prior to having the bead blaster. And then we just thought it was a worthwhile. We use the bead blaster for a lot of stuff now. We bought it for this, and now we use it for all kinds of stuff. So, but it does get used every single day for the brake caliper brackets. So it'll take them just a couple minutes to get this clean, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so we're out. This one was pretty bad, but if you look, Clayton has got where the pads go perfectly clean, absolutely perfectly clean. There's not any kind of grime or anything in these areas. That is smooth as can be. So we can see some of the areas here. I mean, that's pretty rusty. I know those of you who live up north know about that. We're not going to sit there and spend forever just getting that. We got it really clean. We got the parts that count clean. Looks good. It's going to function good. Now we're going to take care of the slides. Let's go do that. So this is, again, I mean, everything is important, honestly. Everybody knows about the slides, so we want to be sure that these things are perfectly clean, good grease on them. So we see here, make sure they go back in the right spot. There is an upper and lower on many cars. So that's pretty nasty grease there. We're going to clean that off good. We can use, there's a couple different kinds of lubricants that you can use on these. Yeah, look at this. Now look at here, see this? So this is why I say, there's this one, it goes in this hole, this one in this hole. So You know, as this goes back on the vehicle, this is the lower and the other one's the upper. So that matters, as you can see. Make sure we put them back in the right spot. So we're gonna clean out the insides of this, and then we're gonna use the Seal Glide, and then also, there's a black grease, a synthetic grease that you can use that I like. But either one of them, make sure you're using the proper grease though. It needs to be a brake grease. This is super high temperature. So you got to use something that's going to withstand that temperature. Wheel bearing grease is not the right grease to use. So don't put wheel bearing grease. Don't use white lithium. White lithium is going to boil off of there in about 2 seconds. So don't use white lithium. Use a brake grease. Make sure that, and you don't have to go, don't be globbing this thing up where you're putting so much in there that the pin can't move properly. We don't want to have a air pocket in there where we can't move it, okay? So I'm going to be sure that get all that nastiness out of there. Don't spray it out, blow it out. Once he gets the big stuff out of there, he'll spray it out with some brake clean, get it clean, and he'll blow it out with some air. And I know this takes a few minutes, I get it. I can tell you right now, if we weren't on video and Clayton's sitting over here doing this and he's been doing this, he does this all the time, there's no way that this corner is going to take more than 25 minutes to a half hour to do. Most brake jobs, you're getting paid, you know, 1.2, 1.4, 1.5. So there's no excuse not to do this. You can do this and you can make money doing this. And again, not having a comeback. No squeaks, no vibrations, none of that. So. Don't be shy about the brake clean. You know, you see he's not, you know, not sitting there drinking it. He's using the right amount, getting it out of there. Clayton. Sometimes we got to be reminded. And what he's doing now is he's just making sure there's no grit from the bead blaster in the bolt holes. Make sure there's no grit at all on it. Now this is where you just want to use the right amount. You don't need to get crazy here. You just want to get it coated. And then that's it. You're going to slide it in. And you're going to move it around, in and out. And we're good to go. And I understand we're doing a video here and he's being a little slower than he normally is. I will tell you right now, he can do this with his eyes closed and do it fast. All right, that cradle is now clean. It's ready to go back on. Everything's moving nice and easy. This one's a little tighter, as you can see, because it's got that rubber grommet on it. This one, super easy. So we, unfortunately, we're waiting on some parts to come from our other store. They got delivered to the other store, so as soon as they get in here, we're going to pop the clips in it. We're going to show you how we, well, you know what? We got one more step to do we can show before they get here. Let's go ahead and come on over. Let's show them how we depress the caliper back in. Now, this is something that a lot of, oh, and our parts are showing up now. You got brake pads? So I get into a lot of discussions when I give brake classes on this, and I get it. And let me just tell you what you got to do here. When you're doing this, you need to open the brake bleeder. Okay? When you're squeezing this caliper back in, you want to open this brake bleeder. Clayton, I want to catch this fluid this time. Okay? Let's catch it in a container just so we can show everybody. We wouldn't normally catch this in a container. We would normally catch it in a bigger area that we can just do it fast. But I want to show you, hopefully this will be a good one to show you on. Keep the caps, put the caps back on, okay? These things keep, down here we got dirt daubers, they like to make nests in these things, but anywhere you want to keep this cap back on so it stays where it can stay flowing, it doesn't, you know, get closed up in the middle so you can bleed it. Why do we open this back up? Well, if we think about it, there is a fair amount of fluid behind this piston. That's a pretty good bit of fluid behind this piston. And that brake hose inside is very, very small. If we look at the inside diameter of a brake line, a metal brake line, the inside diameter of that brake hose is just about the same thing. So that's not a whole lot of fluid in the brake lines going back up into the analog brake unit and up into the master cylinder. And I know that you guys have pushed these calipers back in and had the master cylinder overflow. You're pushing a lot of grime and dirt, and I mean, this is the lowest point in the system. So a lot of that debris is coming right down here and it's sitting right down here. And then you push it back in and it's going right back up in there. And then you can have analog brake problems, you can have master cylinder problems. And this is what I'm gonna get at when I have these classes. I have people that say, I've done hundreds of brake jobs and never had a problem. And that's great. I've done hundreds of brake jobs and never had a problem. I've probably done hundreds and hundreds of brake jobs and never had a problem. Because back in the day, we didn't used to open the bleeders. Until I learned that we need to open the bleeders, because all it takes is one analog brake unit to the tune of $2,500 to go bad, and you're trying to flush it and flush it and flush it, you know, and sitting there, you know, saying, please let this thing come loose because now it's bound up, you know, and now you got to put an analog brake unit on it, and you spent hours trying to flush it so you wouldn't have to buy a $2,500 brake unit, analog brake unit. All we had to do is take that bleeder loose and eliminate that. So we're going to take the bleeder loose, we're going to let that fluid come out. We are not going to pinch the brake hose. We are not going to pinch the brake hose. Again, that hose is very small diameter inside. If we pinch that brake hose, we could compromise the inside lining, and that brake hose could break down later. It will let fluid go one way and not the other, and that's when you get a bound up brake. So don't pinch the brake hose. We're very careful about it. That's why we're hanging the caliper here. We want to be really careful with that brake hose. There's no need to pinch it. We're going to open this up. The fluid is going to come out. We're going to be fine. So let's oh, look at there. Clayton's got him a nice little setup here. I like it. Again, we wouldn't normally do this. Go ahead and I'll hold it while you do that. And you know, hopefully this one will be you know, dirty and you'll see it. Oh, we did? Oh, well, this probably won't be that bad. Evidently, we just did a brake flush on it not long ago, so it probably won't be bad. Some of them are hideous. I mean, like really bad. So let's see. We see this is clean in here. There's nothing really in there. A little bit of, and it should depress back in fairly easily. So that's pretty clean brake fluid, honestly. There's no debris in that.
What do you normally put in the fluid into? You just got like a drain underneath?
Yeah, normally we just have a drain under here. We're not putting tons of it in, so normally that would suffice. But you see a pretty good bit of fluid came out of that. Those lines are very small, so that would push back up. By the time you did two of them, you'd be having all kind of debris up there. So even with, I mean, this was a brake flush was done just how long ago, you say?
8 months.
8 months ago. So clean. Imagine the one that's, the brake flush has never been done on it. So, all right, we're good. All right. So now we've got the caliper back in. It's good, it's spun in easy. Everything was good there. We've got the cradle clean. I would probably get this clean a little bit. We're going to get that clean just a little bit, just a little brush, a little wire brush on that. We can definitely clean these off. We're going to clean these off real quick. Clayton will do that real fast for you, and then we're going to be ready to put some new parts on it. This is literally going to take seconds to do this. Just to be sure we got a good clean area for this stuff to rest on. So while he's cleaning that, I want everybody to understand, when we have brake squeaks, okay, the brake squeak is not happening between the material and the rotor. It's happening between the backing plate and the caliper, either the caliper ears or the piston. So when we get a vibration, what's happening is that pad is moving around, and this here is causing the hum or the whistle or whatever you're getting. That's why the shims are so important. If it's got shims, it needs shims. okay? A lot of them have got multi-layer shims. This one has a multi-layer shim, and the reason for that is you kind of got a buffer in the middle between the outer shim and the inner shim, or between the outer shim and the padded backing plate, that we got a little bit of movement, that will cushion it. It's important to use shims. That will eliminate brake noise, okay? All right, so we're good there. We're ready to put this thing together. Let's clean our hands up, grab some new parts. We're gonna clean our hands up, we'll be right back. Okay, so as soon as I said we're gonna clean our hands and put the brake pads on, the cameraman's like, you clean your hands before you put the brakes on? Yeah, now Clayton has gloves on, so he swapped his gloves out. I had to wash my hands. Why do we do that? Why not just put new brakes on? Well, here's the deal. This material here, this is the way it is. We haven't touched this material, so this is whatever's, came from the factory here, just dust. You cannot have any kind of debris on the friction material. This friction material must be clean and just like it came from the factory. You get some grease on this, you get a little bit of grease on this from your hand, you get any kind of lubricant on it, anything on it, you have compromised this material at that point. So be really, really careful when you're doing this. One thing when you're doing, I'll give you a little trick when you're doing rear drum brakes. I know a lot of you probably don't see rear drum brakes very much, but if you do, a good idea is to take some blue painter's tape, because I will tell you right now, putting those things on, it's almost impossible to keep your hands clean. You're touching that material. On pads, we can do this without touching the material. But on drums, you can't. Take some blue painter's tape, put it on the outer, on the friction material, so that you can touch it and you can move it around. You can get all done with it and then peel that painter's tape off. Don't use duct tape. That glue will stay on the pad material. And I would suggest not using a beige colored like a masking tape, because that's the same color as the friction material. You might forget to pull it off. So the blue painter's tape is the best thing to do on that. Just peel off when you're done. So make sure this material stays clean. We don't get anything on it. So Clayton is now going to show you what we do. We're going to have I'm sure a little bit of controversy here. Clayton's going to come in here and he's going to put a little bit of lube on the back of these plates. We are going to put, like I just said, nothing on that ever, okay? So a little bit of lube on the back of these plates. And some of you are going to say, well, it doesn't come from the factory with that. Why would you do that? We have had really good luck. We're not globbing this stuff on. We just have had good luck I've been doing this for 25 years. Just putting a little bit on there. I feel like it just gives us a little extra protection and a little extra, cuts down the friction on the backing plate if something were to, have a little bit of movement. We're not dealing with a brand new car here. We're dealing with a little bit of play. We might have a little more play than what it had from the factory. Obviously, things get a little worn. So we just take that extra step just to be sure. So we're going to put a little bit on here, and when we put the clips in, we're going to put a little bit on the clips. So Clayton will start doing that now. And we do have new hardware. So you're not going to put anything behind the clips. You're just going to put it on this side of the clip after he gets them in. You can see here, there is not much there. A little goes a long way. Okay. And if you want to get particular, you really only need to put it where either the piston is going to touch it or where the ears of the caliper are going to touch it. You don't really have to get it, over the whole thing if you just want to be that conscious about it. So. Yeah, make sure you put obviously the hardware's got to go on a certain way, which, you can look at when you take it off. Clayton's done a million of them, he knows how they go in. He's going to be real light with this. I mean, he's putting, hardly any on there. You can see he hasn't added any from the tube. He is just using what was on the brush. Again, it just gives it a little bit. Some people are going to say, oh, it'll attract dirt and dust. Again, been doing this for a very, very long time. Haven't had any issues. Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear different, you know, what your guys' experiences are with this. Have you ever had an issue where did you do this at one point and had an issue or something? I'd love to hear it. You know, a lot of times people just, you know, say, oh, you shouldn't do that for whatever reason. If you've got some kind of a real world, you know, experience with it and had an issue, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear it. All right, so this thing is clean. The clips are in, they're ready to go. The slides are clean, pads are ready to go. We're ready to bolt this thing up. We got to put the rotor, got to get it ready to go. He's got it here, sitting here, so let's go ahead and grab the rotor out. Let's see it. Okay, yeah. So these rotors, and a lot of rotors you'll see have got some kind of a coating on it. Okay, so some of them are geomet coating, some of them are black. Do not take that coating off. That coating stays on. It will help bed the pads in. It will actually transfer material and bed the pads in. So make sure you don't sit there, don't clean. I mean, if it's got grease or something on it, my hands are clean right now, so I'm gonna touch this. Again, you don't want to get grease or anything on this rotor either. So if it's got grease on, if it's in a bag and it's full of grease, you're gonna clean the grease off. But don't clean this coating that's on there. Don't sit there and take a buffing wheel and clean that off. That's supposed to be on there. All right. Now, why did Clayton just put that bolt on there, that nut on there? Well, Clayton put that nut on there so he's not fighting that rotor when he's putting the pads on it. He's just got a little light duty electric. He's going to snug these up. And then he's going to torque those down. He just said he hasn't looked up the torque spec yet, so he's going to find that real fast.
Why do we need to torque them?
Why do we need to torque them? I mean, you should be torquing pretty much everything within reason. I'm not the guy that says you need to torque, you know, timing cover, plastic timing cover bolts, but I mean, we are dealing with brakes here, so you know, we want to have that, you know, properly tightened down. We could get into a whole thing about torque and what torque is and why we torque, but just know that we want this thing to be held on properly. We don't want to over torque it and stretch the threads. We don't obviously want to under torque it and have it come loose. It can come loose if you over torque it too. So, but we just want to do it. Let's do the thing right. Let's do it right. He just looked up the spec. In the time that I've been talking, he's got the spec. He's got the torque wrench out. He's ready to go, and he's going to torque it down. Every one of these little steps that we do, you know, take a couple of minutes, and I understand people are going to say, yeah, those couple minutes add up. I get it. But I will tell you right now, 100%, that he can do a brake job on one of these corners in less than a half hour. And it's done right. And we're not having to redo it. If you've got one car that comes back in, you take the car down the road and it comes back, it's making noise or it's vibrating right after you get done with the brake job, and you got to pull that back apart and you spend the next hour, you know, trying to fix what you did, then you could have done, you know, we could have done 4 or 5 brake jobs the right way, right? So, all right.
Do you want to talk about the wheelies?
No, I mean, we can. So if you've got, like, these pads are going to have these little deals here that will squeal when they impact the rotor. So some have these, some don't. So you got to make sure you put them on the right spot.
How do you know what spot they're on?
Look at the old pad.
Well,
The old pad didn't have those. Old pad didn't have them.
I was taught it is whichever way the wheel is turning, it's
Mhm.
the first mating surface side.
Yeah. Okay.
Got the yellow?
The old pads didn't have these though.
I've had that a few times.
Yeah. So these pads come with them. The old pads didn't have them. I would look at the old pad, but Clayton just said, you know what? He said these pads didn't have them. He said that he was always taught that as the car is rotating, it would be on the first surface to be touched. So I'm assuming that's in forward. So he's got him in there. And all right, notice that when Clayton put these in, they went right in by hand. There was no tapping them with a hammer, no grabbing them. They just popped right in. That's perfect. They've got just enough tension to keep them from moving around. They can slide nice and easy, but they're not flopping all over the place, okay? Absolutely perfect. So now we're gonna take this caliper, we're gonna get back in place. Caliper slides right on, no issues. Again, very light duty. Take this hook off. People have told me before they left their hooks on their cars when we do classes. Like, yeah, I use the hooks. I've lost a few of them. Make sure you take your hook. That's why I like the bright color ones. Don't buy, black ones or gray ones. Buy the green or the orange or something crazy color so you know it's there.
Put a link in the description.
Yeah, we can put a link in the description. They've got them on Amazon. They're super cheap. I mean, people make coat hangers and all that. These things are, they're super cheap. We'll find them, put a link down there. All right, he's gonna torque it. Notice that the torque wrench moved, so they weren't over torqued by the gun. We're done. He's gonna just double check himself. And he's gonna take this off, and then he's done. He's done with this corner. All right, I know this video, I don't know how long this video is gonna be at the end. I get it. People are like, oh my gosh, it took you forever. I'm telling you, I promise you, less than 30. What do you say, Clayton, that you do on one of these things normally?
20 minutes tops.
20 minutes, Clayton says. That's cleaning. That's doing it right. 20 minutes. That means he's going to have the brake job done in far less than an hour, okay? And it's done right. And he's not going to have a comeback. So just please try it. Try it. For those of you that had some issues with brakes, maybe you've had some vibrations, you've had some noises, now you know the step-by-step to make sure you don't have it anymore. Once we get this done, obviously, we're going to pump the brake pedal up. We're going to get the rest of it done. We're going to get the brake pedal pumped up, make sure we got a good pedal. We just did a brake flush on this, so I'm assuming we're not doing another brake flush on it. So we're going to have to bleed it. Yeah, that's one thing now, if you're not doing a brake flush, when you get done, because you open the bleeder, you're going to have to bleed it. Now, it's going to take you probably maybe to, pump it, let it go down, pump it, let it go down, and you're probably going to be done. You didn't get any air in here. You opened it up and you pushed it out. So it's not like you got a bunch of air in it. So that's going to take, you're not going to be sitting here for long bleeding it. So maybe add another, minute to that and having somebody in the car. So pump it up, get a good pedal, bleed it, get the wheel back on it, torque the wheel on properly, another video on that, and then you're good to go, guys. And you're going to have a proper brake job. It's going to be, you got some craftsmanship involved in this. You've done it properly, and you're proud of what you've done. And you know when that car goes down the road, that brake job's done right, and you're not going to have an issue with anything that you did. All right, everybody, we appreciate you watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Like always, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell so every time we release a video, you get notified of it. Leave a comment down below. We'd love to see what you think of what we did here. Appreciate Clayton taking a few minutes to work with us and do this and show us the right way to do it. You guys have a great day. We'll see you in the next one.